What the is we doing?
This is number 3, technically 4, but we'll keep it as 3 because we lost one. So what's today's topic?
It's an interesting one. Just want to get some thoughts about it, some input on social media.
Okay.
It's an interesting topic. I think might be of interest of a lot of people.
Mhm.
My own, to be honest. But before we get started, I want to give a shout out to the charity that gave me this.
You want to stand up to show it off a little?
Oh yeah. I don't know.
Little
What's
tubs
the
for
angle?
us, okay?
But it's her birthday too, so happy birthday.
Oh,
to
happy
you.
birthday. What's your
Thanks.
name?
Let's not mention that.
Okay.
She knows. She always listens to us.
Okay.
You know what's funny? I mentioned to her about this once, and she thought about, like, I don't know how she found the logo and stuff, but made me feel special. It's
There you
nice
go.
though. Cheers for that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh wait, we gotta cheers, bro.
Facts.
How's the info, man?
Something stronger this time because we're just getting started.
Mm.
Some scotch.
I had some pretty strong stuff last time. I had vodka, so I don't know about you.
That's not strong.
Vodka's
No.
not strong?
Not for me. At least that's.
Oh, that's your problem, not mine.
But anyways, but yeah, let's kick it off
Mhm.
with the topic. Social media, the
Mhm.
good, the bad, and the ugly.
Mhm.
What do you want to start?
Well, firstly, I don't really use social media that much. Not because I don't like it or don't want to, it's just because I don't have time. Now, I know there's a lot of like information out there dictating or just kind of explaining the science behind social media and all the problems that it has for especially the younger generation that just like they're glued to it. There was a time where I was pretty like addicted to the social media, but kind of life got in the way of that, and now I don't really like. I literally have days where I don't go on Instagram.
That's a lie.
No, I'm serious. Like, there's like 2 or 3 days where I just like I don't look at anything related to
always look up a
Instagram.
story, bro. Come on.
And then that's kind of just life. Like, my life in particular is structured that way. Not everybody is, and that's speaking more to just like a lot of free time. But yeah, social media is definitely something you want to manage more than anything else because it can become very addictive, time consuming, and then it doesn't allow you to do stuff that you know you should be doing. Like I've been conscious of it myself, or I've been guilty of it myself, of just like procrastinating doing the work that I should be doing, and instead of just watching stuff on Instagram. What about you?
So let's start with the bad.
Okay.
So as you mentioned, people get actually addicted to it,
Mm-hmm.
like constant. Like you go into Instagram, especially, you go for like one video, 2 videos, but you end up spending like 22 half an hour or even hours at that span of time. And so that's I think that's the bad. Like it can become addicted, and there was some study that just like the tapping, like the way that social media is configured, like TikTok especially, like the swiping up and down,
Mm-hmm.
it's kind of like the study shows that it's something psychological for us that we become kind of like addicted to it. It's kind of like a mouse just tapping on it or something like that. But I read that the way that social media is configured is not just because the design that they
It's not random.
it's not exactly, it's not random, it's
There's a
literally to
reason
keep you
behind
hooked.
everything.
Yeah.
Um, I know for a fact that like they have algorithms that are constantly running, and they're always working on those algorithms to make you more addicted, or not necessarily addicted, just keep you on the platform longer. Because the longer you're on the platform, the more they can advertise to you, and the more they can advertise to you, the more likely they will that you will buy something, and then advertisers pay the company to do that.
Right.
And that's how they generate their revenue, among other things. But that's a primary source of revenue generation when it comes to social media businesses, right? They're
Right.
always trying to sell you something, and it might not be like products. It might just be your data.
No, in fact, it is your data that is on sale. Like the ultimate product of a social media is your data,
Mm-hmm.
like what you consume, the things that you're looking at,
Mhm.
where you spend the most time on. like on a TikTok, on a reel, where are you spending most of your time? Like which hashtags are these videos related to?
Mhm.
And then ultimately the algorithm picks up products related to the
Mhm.
hashtag and shows that in your feed, or if you don't even notice, but it might show on your Google search or like your Facebook search stuff. I
They
know
hear
there's
you, right? Like sometimes you get advertisements, like you were just talking about, and it's becoming so relevant now that everybody talks about it. You say something, your phone somehow hears you, and then when you open up social media, one of the advertisements ends up being that thing you talked about.
So there's some really interesting stuff about what you just mentioned about it being able to hear you. It actually doesn't hear you.
Mm.
What it does, it cross checks to the phone of the
Mhm.
person that you interact with
Mm.
within the conversation.
Mhm.
So let's say right now our phones are relatively next to each other, and you have searched, I don't know, like gym, and I have searched workout. So it cross checks those two names from
Okay.
your data that you have typed when you Google search or whatever, and it assumes the most relative topic for both of us. So we both now are gonna start looking at products related to like fitness and stuff like that, or
Got it.
health. That's how the algorithm works. I saw a video about this.
Oh, okay.
But anyways, so I think that's the bad. The bad is that we on a constant, we ultimately the product, like our information is the product. We become addicted to it. Like you mentioned, we don't become productive on the things that we need to get done, and yeah, time is money, and time ultimately your time doesn't, you don't get back your time.
Right.
So in my personal situation, I do tend to spend some time on Instagram. Now I do have some limitations, like I can just spend 15 minutes on that spam, and then automatically iPhone has this feature that where you can time off the app, and it just blocks itself, and then you have to unlock it. So I do that for most of my social media apps like WhatsApp, Instagram, YouTube. I don't do it really, just because I do find some value on watching YouTube videos. So I'm sometimes listening to podcasts. I'm sometimes watching some news or some information videos. That's the reason why I don't block that. I think that's from all the social media apps out there. I tend to be using YouTube the most at the moment.
Okay. For sure. Same.
Yeah, I don't use Facebook, no Snapchat, no TikTok. Instagram, I use it. Now, this is kind of like shifting to the good side of social media. I think it's a good way to reach out an audience that you, that people that already watches your story. Like some of my posts reach like that 250, 300 people views within like 24 hours. So you're reaching an audience, and this is something that I watched in a video from influencers that she mentioned that the way that you don't let social media control you, or just like you being a consumer of the platform, is that you become a creator. So rather than you kind of like spending hours watching other people's stories, you can go with the mindset of how can I do research out of this? Like what is trending? What other things, or what can I create from here? Or what values am I taking out of this product? So I think it's just a shift on your mindset, of your perspective of how you go about the product, that can help you not see it much as a, what do you call it, as an addiction, but something that, a tool that you can utilize to either reach an audience, create your brand, promote, like we have been promoting shots of info on our personal stories. So that's one way to do it. Ultimately, I think the good is that connects people. It lets you reach an audience, share interesting things, or even sometimes bad things.
Or funny things.
Anything, yeah. But, funny things, yeah, memes. But ultimately, I feel like going to the ugly side of things of social media, I think that there's people that get trapped in a way that they literally think, or like they create a version of their lives.
Echo chamber. So that's one of the concepts, right? If you're in a negative mindset and that's all you kind of watch, especially on social media, that's all you're just like, that's all you're given, right? You're just given the bad stuff, right? You'll just be, given bad videos, you'll be given bad recommendations, you'll be given people that are promoting bad things, right? And it's not like bad in the sense of like it's violent, it's just negative, right? Like a negative worldview or just a negative outlook on life. And, that drags on people. Like, if all you're being exposed to is just a bad view of the world, that becomes your view of the world.
Exactly.
Right? And then you become an individual that, not to be like indignant or just sound, bad about you, but you become an individual that nobody wants to be around. Right? And the only place that you feel comfortable and the only place that you feel accepted is through social media, online, not connecting with people like this, right, on a one-on-one basis. Which, us as human beings, as social animals, we need to have this level of connectivity. Because if we don't have it, then we start getting really trapped in our mind, we get trapped by our thoughts, we get trapped by the negative, just day-to-day things that happen in life. And like, it happens. Like it's unfortunate the negative things happen, but that's a part of life and it's supposed to be a balance, right? For every bad thing that happened, there's supposed to be something good. And if you're only being exposed to the bad, then that just becomes your worldview. And you do that long enough, and that's where we start getting individuals that get indoctrinated into the thoughts of like, doing violent acts or doing bad things.
Or like conspiracy theories.
Or conspiracy theories, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's another topic of conversation that we've had before. But it's just always be in the mindset that social media is not necessarily a real thing. It's a product and it's made to get you addicted. That's how the algorithm works. For better or for worse, if you go out of your way to create content, you're not really being indoctrinated into any of the bad stuff.
Yeah, you're being an influence on somebody's who are the people that are watching your stuff eventually get influence on what you put out there. To be honest.
Exactly. So that's the idea, and hopefully with more research and more data coming out, that becomes the norm. But until then, there's a lot of negative stuff out there. Don't become indoctrinated by it. Don't feel like, you're the only one, or whatever it is that you're facing in life that's making you feel some type of way that's negative. Again, you need to understand that social media is not there to just like make that be the thing for you. You're supposed to go out of your way to find the positive things, right? And you should be getting outside of your comfort zone and doing all the things that makes us as human beings be better and be better.
And another thing too, okay, so kind of like two things that comes to my head right away is people who portray a life of happiness and success, but in real life they're not. It's a lie. So they're living a lie within social media, but on their real life they're a normal average person. Alright, so that's one thing. Now another thing, what that causes, it's kind of like a domino effect where the people watching his stuff or her stuff compare itself to that person. So how can we avoid falling into that kind of like
the trap?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's just like comparison, right? Like you're trying to compare your life to theirs, and you feel like you're not adequate enough because what they're portraying on social media doesn't live up to what you're doing. 9 times out of 10, if not 10 times out of 10, what you see on social media is constructed, it's fabricated, it is Photoshop, everything that you can imagine. It's created to appeal to you, right? Whether it's positive or negative, right? You need to understand that and have a firm belief that life is not sunshines and rainbows. And if that's the only thing someone is portraying, then that's an indication that they're lying to you, because life isn't.
Right. Now another thing too is the constant seek for validation through likes, through through reshares, or just getting like comments on your
Right.
posts or DMs. I think that's another thing too that can cause the cycle. But because this happened to me in a way that I have considered going public. You see, my Instagram is private because usually the people that within my followers range are people that I have interacted one way or another, although I know directly. So that's the people that I keep them within my frame, within my social network. But I have considered going public because I get requests and I will increase my following highly.
Right.
But I do appreciate my privacy, like sharing, like, because I usually share my day-to-day shit, or like I have family pictures, or
Right.
I actually took them down. Like I have my nieces on my post and stuff like that. But I rather share that with some like a smaller circle of friends, because it's nice.
You want to share like great moments in your life, right?
Yeah, and also it's okay. Another thing too that I have been seeing it lately, just because yesterday I covered all my pictures into a hard drive, is that cloud, or just having like the highlights or like the best moments that you like it was the baptism of my niece, or my other godson, or just like my graduation. Having that living somewhere, kind of like a small portfolio of your life. Sometimes you just go back to your timeline and you're just like, oh shit, I grew all this. Like I don't care the amount of likes each post got, but like you yourself, you tend to be scrolling through your picture. I do that. I scroll through my picture. I'm like, oh shit, 2 years ago I was in Cuba. Actually, it might be longer, but
Like 2.5 years ago.
yeah, it's been a while. So I'm just like, I'm doing good.
Yep.
Sometimes that appreciation for yourself, having the visualization of your life living somewhere is nice, but do it for yourself,
Right.
rather than for the public out there.
The validation.
Yeah, that's one thing. That's where I was going, and then I stopped myself from going public, and I kept it private.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, again, like you can have a separation of like what you want out there that's public and what you want that's private.
Yeah.
You need to understand that maybe you're not in a position where like you're getting a lot of validation, or that's something that you might want, or whatever the case might be. At the end of the day, it's the one-to-one human connection that matters the most, right? It doesn't matter how many likes or how many comments or how many reshares or whatever you're looking for to feel like you're worth something. It's the connections that you make with people one-on-one.
Yes.
That's what matters. That's what you're going to find that has the most meaning, and that's what you're going to find that you tend to lack if you feel like you need this sense of validation on a social media presence, right? Because again, like we're friends, we talk offline, we do stuff outside of obviously this space, but
This began from talking outside.
exactly.
Like we literally used to talk topics like this outside, and we decided to record it to
Yeah.
share with everybody.
So this happens regardless, right? This is
regardless.
gonna happen regardless. We're just doing this because it's just interesting, and it'd be nice to, in the same way you look back at your pictures, we can look back at these videos and conversations that we have.
Shit, I thought that way. I was like, think.
Right?
Literally.
But again, we're not doing this for any external validation. We're doing this because we want to, and just because in the same way you look back at your pictures and you're like, man, I can't believe you've come this far, or life has happened this way, or this person was whatever. We're gonna look back at these videos and do the same thing.
Right.
That's how you should be approaching social media, right? It's not to look for that validation.
Right. And lastly, just to wrap it up, I think like the quote goes, comparison is the kill of joy. So if you spending time on social media and you're seeing all these people traveling, making money, talking about success, just believe that you are where you need to be in your life, and that's the best way to think about it, and you just be happy.
That's actually a nice segue into another topic that we might talk about.
What is it?
Feeling like, you're not where you should be. Most of the time, you are exactly where you should be.
Yep.
And it's up to you to figure out what the learning experiences or the learning lessons are, right? because this is what you need to get to the next level, right? And if you're struggling, that's an indication that you should be learning something.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're not, then you're gonna be stuck there for a long time.
That's true. No, I always said that. Estás donde tienes que estar. Like, that's literally a phrase that I said all the time.
You say that again?
Estás donde tienes que estar. Like, you are where you need to be.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, with that, we can wrap this up unless you have
That's it.
last thoughts.
Social media?
Cheers.
Over.
How long was that? This is a conversation between friends.
None of what is said here should be taken as legal advice.
We are not experts in any way.
Take what resonates and leave the rest.